In the last module, I showed you briefly what you'd need to order for reference, but here I'll show you where I would actually go and what I would do if I were ordering these parts today. I'm not ordering them because I already have them, but I'll go right up to where I would actually place the order for them. First up are the Raspberry Pi and its accessories. Included are the actual Pi, the mini SD card that will function as its hard drive, the Android-style micro USB power supply, and an optional cable for plugging in the Pi to a monitor, depending on your monitor's inputs. So first up is the Raspberry Pi. And for pretty much all of this stuff, I kind of go to Amazon. That's my standard go-to place. You might be able to find things less expensively somewhere else, or you might have a preferred vendor that you want to go to. But Amazon suits my purposes, and I've always felt pretty good about ordering things from there for the Raspberry Pi and other such accessories. So what I'm going to search for here is the Raspberry Pi, and I'm looking for Model B, because Model B has everything we need. It's got the network adapter and everything that you're going to need in order to do the home automation project. So here it comes up on Amazon. Actually, I will amend the Google search to specifically talk about Amazon, and then I see here is Raspberry Pi Model B. This is a $39 product right here, right now. And so you can go ahead and order this specific part, and you will have the correct Raspberry Pi in order to do the home automation. Now, as long as I'm already on Amazon's site, I'm going to use their own search feature for future searches. But first, in order to find what kind of SD card we need for the hard drive, I'm going to go and actually check the wiki for the Raspberry Pi. And the reason that I'm going to do this is that there are a ton of SD cards out there, and it behooves you to find one that is at least listed as okay on that site. Your mileage may vary on any individual one, but it's going to probably go a lot better on average if you find one that isn't known to have problems. Now, elinux.org/RPI cards is the site where this is all listed, and I'm going to scroll down here, and you can see that there are an absolute ton of cards on here, some of which are okay and some of which aren't. I personally have had good luck with the Kingston cards when it comes to the Raspberry Pi, so I'm going to scroll down to find a model that I've ordered before, and what I'm going to be looking for is one that's 8 gigabytes, and let's see. Here we go. SD 10G3, 8 gigabytes Elite. I'm going to type that into Amazon, and I'm going to see what comes back, and there we have it. So you can go to this guy, and you can feel pretty good, like I said, that this is going to work. There are obviously no guarantees in life, and this is no different, but you can feel a lot better when it's listed as okay on that site. I have actually had a SD card that was listed as not okay, and I've gotten it to work, but you'll feel better, I think, if you go with approved accessories. It can be sort of discouraging in a venture like this to order parts and have them not work and have to then reorder a slightly different part and wait a few days. Next up, we need to find a power adapter for the Raspberry Pi. And as we have these supported SD cards with their own section, there's also Raspberry Pi verified peripherals is the name of the page. And you can do a search on this page for a lot of different other kinds of peripherals, acceptable USB devices and things of this nature. And so there is a section here if you want to go look through it for power adapters. And you can see that there are a lot of different brands listed here, which ones will work. The common thread is that they are going to be 1 amp 5 volt adapters, which is pretty standard. I have never had any issues at all with power adapters for the Pi. So I'm just going to do a search for a micro USB power supply that's 5 volts. And there should be a number of results here, and there you have it. So these kind of look like things you might charge your phone with. According to the specifications that are listed, if I've ordered a few different ones, and I've also swapped in and out phone chargers pretty reliably for this, and I've never once had an issue. You might want to double check to see that the particular one you select for cost or preference reasons or what have you is in fact on the verified peripherals page. The final accessory that you might order, and which I listed as optional, is a converter from HDMI to DVI or to VGA. If you have a standard HDMI input, the Raspberry Pi deals in HDMI, so you can simply get an HDMI cable and plug that in if you want to do a search. Amazon certainly has HDMI cables available. If you similarly want to convert from HDMI to VGA, or I should say to DVI, there are plenty of those available as well on the site, and those should work just fine if you have a DVI monitor. VGA gets a little more interesting, and you can do it, you can try it. I would probably recommend against it because of some of the particulars of signal conversion. You'll find a lot of entries on the various forums about Raspberry Pi with people modifying configuration settings to try to get this to work. It depends on if the converter that you buy is depending on the Raspberry Pi for supplying its power, or if it has an external power source. So it's a bit of a minefield. If you really prefer to get this working, that's going to be a little beyond the scope of what I'm doing here, you can do it. It might not be easy. So I would suggest that if you're going to have the Raspberry Pi plugged into a monitor, you find one with an HDMI port, or you could plug it into a spare TV, which I sometimes do to troubleshoot with it, or you can plug it into a DVI port with one of these cables. One final thing worth mentioning is that there is another option to get all of the accessories along with the Pi itself, which is called a Raspberry Pi Kana Kit. And so everything I just showed you over the last few searches you can get right from this Kana Kit here for $62.99. This tends to be a pretty good deal, especially for a starter. And one of the big reasons is that you actually get the operating system preloaded onto the SD card, which is going to save you some steps that I'm about to show you. But in either case, you can order everything individually to suit your own tastes, or you can order this kit, and it even comes with a case for the Raspberry Pi as well. So I would definitely suggest this if you're new to the Raspberry Pi. With all the Raspberry Pi parts ordered, next up is the X10 parts that we're going to need, and this includes the wireless transceiver that hooks into the Pi, as well as the transceiver module that will be plugged into the lamp, which will receive the signals to turn the lamp on and off. These parts are going to be a little harder to find than all of the Raspberry Pi stuff. Sometimes you can find them on sites like Amazon or Newegg, but there are X10 home automation parts that you really only find on eBay from custom stores. So let's take a look at how to go about finding these parts. So from a blank search screen here, I'm going to type in the module name of the interface for USB, and that's going to be the first thing I search for here. And you can see some images come up from a variety of different sites. And since I like Amazon, here we have one on Amazon, and that's exactly the part that we're looking for, this transceiver module, CM19A. So that's good enough from right here. We could just go ahead and order this part, but for the next part, I think it's going to be a little bit harder to find. I'm going to type in the model number of the transceiver that receives the signals and will actually turn the light on and off, and that is the XT751A transceiver module. And that's not quite as common, so there's no big results coming up for Amazon or anything else. Instead, what you see are boutique home automation type shops. So I'm going to go to Google Shopping, and this is actually the device that we're looking for $19.99, and it's listed in a few different shops. And as I had mentioned, what we're seeing here is that principally it's going to be a matter of looking on eBay and going to buy this. And this is going to sort of vary according to time and whatnot. I have a lot of experience shopping for home automation modules from these stores on eBay. Look for a store that is accredited by eBay, and then you're just going to have to simply find a highly rated seller. These here look to be fairly well rated, so you could pick any one of these. I also, when ordering parts from eBay, go exclusively with offerings that have buy it now available, because these are usually bona fide home automation resellers with a buy it now option. It's not somebody auctioning off just some random item. This is an actual home automation store that you're looking at, so we could pick one of these out to buy. And there you have it. You should now have all of the parts necessary in order to complete your home automation project of turning your first light on and off.